Booster, go. Retro, go. Vital, we're go fly. Guidance, go. Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
I feel the need for speed.
You gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Join us or die.
Welcome to Mark Groupie Outdoors, the podcast. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all listening. We appreciate you following. Ryer, why don't you tell them how they can find us on all our different locations?
Well, we are all across the web. You can find our website at markgroupieoutdoors.com, and you can find all of our podcasts there specifically at markgroupieoutdoors.com/podcast. You can also follow our Facebook and our Instagram at Mark Groupie Outdoors, GRUPE, and we also have a YouTube channel where you can see all the videos that we talk about. It is also, say it together, Mark Groupie Outdoors.
There we go. There's no excuse for not finding us. Anyways, today we're going to, in our topics, we're going to talk about one more thing, which is actually several more things, but it's some things that you'll be able to do before, during, or after your hunt to make it more successful and more enjoyable. So hopefully those will be some tips that you can use. Also, we want to talk about the fire, which was recently near our ranch, the Detwiler fire. That's consumed nearly 85,000 acres, and looks like it's about 90% contained, so it looks like they got a handle on it. It stayed about 10 miles away from us, so our ranch was all safe there, so we were in good shape. But I had lots of people calling and asking if they could help, so I really appreciate it. A lot of people on Facebook, a lot of people on Messenger, a lot of people on text messages, so I had everything from horse trailers lined up to people with garden hoses to shovels to whatever they could do, help load furniture or anything. So I really appreciate all the goodwill that you guys sent our way, and it was very nice and generous of all of you. And speaking of the ranch, we also had one of our partners at the ranch hunting the other day, Jerry Coit from Jerry's Archery, and Bobby Gilligan. That's his son Gary's girlfriend, and they were up for a hunt, and we had a great hunt. We did not get a pig, but Bobby and I had several close encounters, and it was really intense. We must have seen 50 pigs in the morning, and we got within shooting distance a number of times, but we were unable to take one. But it was a great hunt, and we had some up close and personal experiences, and it was great to have them up there.
Well, even though you didn't get a pig, you did get something else, didn't you?
We did get a rattlesnake. Yes, Bobby did shoot a rattlesnake with her bow. We walked by, on the trail we must have walked 8 to 12 inches from it, and I walked by it, and it didn't do anything. But when Bobby walked by it, it cut loose with a heck of a rattle. I think because it was first thing in the morning, it was still a little bit cool outside, that it was relatively docile. Was it docile? I don't know if it was docile, but it didn't strike, and it seemed if it was, that would have been a good time for it to strike, because we walked inches from it, and it was certainly within striking distance. So we'll put up a picture of our rattlesnake that we took. Anything else that we got before we jump into our subject matter?
Well, you don't have to go too much into detail about this, but the other day when we were driving up to the ranch talking about the fire, we were talking a little bit about how you kind of wanted to do some more controlled burns on the ranch itself for a few reasons. And I think just given that the fire was so recent, maybe you could expound a little bit on why you'd like to do that, or what purpose they serve. Yeah,
well, one of the problems in California, or I guess we're everywhere in the United States in the West, is we have this, or developing this preservationist mentality where we don't want to do anything, to touch anything, to harvest anything, and we're getting so much growth and and then dying trees and beetle kills and drought tree deaths, that we're just developing this huge load of fuel. And when these fires go now, they just become unmanageable. If these fires, where this started in the foothill area, if there was a brushing program or a controlled burning program, a lot of these dead trees and dead brush would not even be there. And these fires would just be grass fires. They would go through, they would not burn the trees. They would really just help clean things up. But instead, we don't burn. We don't want to breathe the smoke in. We don't want to see a fire. We don't want to, we think a fire is bad. But after these burns, the land is much healthier. The wildlife love getting in there after the burns. But heck, when you scorch 80,000 acres, now you just have huge swaths, huge giant square chunks, mile after mile, that are burned. And it's going to take a while to recover from that. And if we could just go along in these places and burn and control burn some of these spots, harvest timber at some of these spots, these things really would not get out of hand, and the problem would not be there. But we as humans, we are going to save the planet, and typically we cause more problems than we ever intended to. Jump into one more thing. I wanted to go over some things that I think will be helpful for you all in a number of different categories. It'll help you before, during, or after the season, and while you're on your hunt, or before and after, like I said. So let's just jump into those things. With our big game season coming up here, I've had some people contact me recently about field dressing, and so they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to don't want to create any problems. So I'm not going to do a whole giant detailed thing on field dressing, but there's a couple things I want to hit. Is one, it's a lot easier to keep hair and dirt off of the meat than it is to cleaning it off the meat once you get it on there. So keeping your meat clean as you take it off the animal is a big importance. And to help me do that, I bring along a 6 by 8 foot blue tarp. Just get an inexpensive one at Lowe's. More or less ends up being disposable. It fits flat right in the bottom of your pack. You don't even know it's there. It could also be an emergency rain shelter. It could be used for a number of things, but you can spread that tarp out, and as you take off pieces of meat, you can lay it on that and keep it clean until you get hung and bagged. Now, let's talk about two different ways of cleaning your animal. One is you have to gut it, and so again, I'm not going to go into real detail, but one thing, you're going to go with hide and a little bit of muscle and then some connective tissue as you get into its abdomen. And past that, you want to make sure you do not puncture or plunge your knife into there, because you are going to start rupturing some guts. And that, again, once the meat is dirty, it can be a pain to get it clean, and getting the taint off that once it's been contaminated by guts, it can be hard. So be careful as you're cutting up through the cavity. Go as far as you can up its chest. If you can split its chest cavity with a knife or a little saw that you've got, that's going to make things easier, and you can reach way up into his chest, loosen his heart from the top of the lung cavity, and start working your way back. You'll have to cut the diaphragm all the way around, separating that from the ribs, and you'll have to do that before you reach the heart, and then start pulling things back. You'll want to another problem area will be the colon and the bladder. If you can saw or split that pelvis, then it's very easy to loosen that colon, the whole tract of the final destination of their food right there in their hips. And you can go through and you can cut around that and cut around his anus and everything and loosen that whole thing. And then as you start peeling all the guts back, that whole thing will just lift out, and you can lift it out without contaminating your meat. So those are just a couple things to keep in mind of some problem areas that people encounter. But you do not even have to gut your animal if you don't want to. And so a lot of my more experienced friends are familiar with this gutless method. But for those of you that aren't, you can do the whole thing without even taking the guts out. I'm going to back up here and talk about people drag their deer out. And if you've got a short distance to drag your animal out, a few 100 yards or something like that, well, and you want to drag it out because you want to show it whole to friends, fine. But if you've got farther to take that animal out, you're much, much better off and easier quartering that animal up. And you're going to, by doing that, you're going to get rid of, if you bone it out, you're going to get rid of a lot of bones, you're going to get rid of the hide, and you're going to put that thing in a manageable size and amount of weight where, depending on your strength and your abilities, in 1 or 2 trips, you'll have that sucker out of there. So then back to our gutless method, what I'd like to do is put a slit from their tail all the way up to the base of the antlers, and then you can, a good place to start is just lay that animal kind of on its back and pull a leg, kind of pull it out from the body, and just start cutting that leg away from the body. That front shoulder is not attached by any ball joint or anything like that, like the hip socket is. And as you stay close to the scapula on that deer, and as you cut along, that whole thing will just kind of separate. So pretty soon as you pull that thing away from the body and keep cutting, you'll reach the cut that you made all the way along its back, and that front shoulder will just fall off. Now you can take that and you can set that onto your blue tarp, and you can skin that piece out right there. Then the next thing I'd like to do is you can go over and do the hind quarter. That one takes a little more technique because it's got a ball joint in there. So you can pull that. You pull that away from the body. You're going to have to cut. You're going to have to go into that hip socket, and you're going to have to separate that hip socket, which will be attached to the leg, from that acetabulum, that little cup on its pelvis. So you're going to have to cut around that, and making sure you stay close to the bone, because that whole pelvis area has a lot of funky turns and contours and stuff like that. So to make sure you get all the meat you try to follow that as good as possible. And then again, as you fold that back and take it off, you'll reach that cut that you made along its back, and your back leg will fall off. Put that on your blue tarp, take the hide off. If you wanted, you could also hang it from a string from a tree and skin it out that way. As you finish up your work, you can bag each of these things and hang them in a tree and let them start cooling. After you get your leg off, you can go right into your back straps, and you're just cutting along the backbone and then following down along the ribs, and you'll take off that big piece of meat, which will go from just under the front shoulder all the way back to that back leg that you took off, and a little ways, it travels a little ways down the rib, and that's basically your New York strip. And so that will come off. Then there you can take your flank meat off and your rib meat off, however you like it, and you can then go to your neck roast and take those off. And then you can flip your animal over, and you can lather, rinse, repeat, do the same thing on the other side. after you've got all that off, those guts really just kind of want to fall away from the side of the body, even though you haven't gutted it. And there, with just a little bit of work, you can get in and you can get the tenderloins. So you're going to get done, and you're going to have your 2 hindquarters. You're going to have your 2 front shoulders. You're going to have some front shoulder and neck meat. You're going to have your back straps and tenderloins and your rib meat. You can divvy those up how you like to in your pack, but you're going to come up with a manageable load. If you've got a long ways to go and you have a big animal such as an elk, then you can just bone it out and just to make it simple, you can just do it by braille. You can cut down to the bone on those front shoulders or hindquarters, and then just start separating it from around the bone. And there's lots of techniques that you can look up and do that, but that's basically what you're after. And doing that, you'll now not have to carry that front shoulder blade out, that femur out. You'll eliminate a lot of weight there. And so that would be some things that you can do there to help get your animal out. If it is hot outside and you've got your animal down, you really may want to think about not bagging that sucker up right away and going for a long hike, because if you take that hot meat and you throw it in your pack and you pile it on top of each other, you risk that spoiling. So if you shoot it in the morning or the afternoon, and you can get that hung up in shade, and it's going to cool down in the evening or night, and you got the time, let that sucker cool down and make sure the bears and coyotes don't get it, and take it out the next morning. Pile it up in your pack. It'll be cool, and you'll be fresh, and haul that sucker out of there, and that good care of it pay dividends later. Table fare goes. All right. Well, then the next thing we got after that, we'll be hitting some dove season. Just a couple quick reminders there is keeping things cool, keeping your dog cool and keeping you cool. So if nothing else, I can say bring water for you, water for your dogs, and keep them in a cool spot when hunting. Let them go down to a lake if they can, or a water trough, get in, cool off. And then when you're going home in the car, make sure you don't put them in the car and let them sit there, especially with windows up or even windows down. It gets awful hot really quick in those cars. And I've had some good friends that have had some horrible things happen to their dogs. So really keep that in mind, and take good care of yourself and good care of your dogs. Waterfowl. One thing that's typically we all as waterfowls have is, again, as we enjoy our dog work. And if I could tell you one between now and our October waterfowl season, if you can work on one thing, is work on the word here. Some people say come, I use the word here. But so many problems that you've got can be solved by the word here and doing a job on it. Whether they're bringing one in and they want to go over and get to another bird or see something else, if you have a good, strong here command, your dog is going to come here. If your dog takes off after something you don't want it to take off to, and you have a good, strong here command, you're going to be able to control your dog and keep it out of trouble, keep it away from other dogs. There's a multitude of things. So if you're working on your handling drills and your dog goes over to the pile of bumpers and picks up one and picks up another and picks up another, what I call shopping, if you have a good, strong here command, you can holler here or give them here and a little nick on the collar or a pull on the check cord and reel them in and end that problem. So a lot of your problems in the field and your drills can be fixed by fixing just the word here. So think about that. Let's go into physical conditioning. We've talked about a little bit that about in the past. In help discard, I would say try to do this on your nutrition end. try to get rid of one thing. A lot of us have bad habits, whether it's we eat fast food, we eat ice cream at night, we snack too much, we have a cocktail at night, we drink. All these things can lead to excess weight. So pick one thing. If you think you got the strength, pick a hard one, and just pick one thing and say, I'm going to work on that. I eat ice cream before I go to bed at night. Just take that one thing away. Just try one thing. Don't worry about I'm doing this all carb diet or no carb diet or Atkins diet or paleo diet or this or whatever, and getting off into the weeds on all these things you got to do. Just make it simple. Just eliminate one bad thing, and chances are you'll start you'll start a good habit, and 2, you'll start trending your weight in the right direction. And then on top of that, you've eliminated one thing. Try adding one thing, whether that's a 15-minute walk, a half-hour walk, an hour walk, whatever you can, or lightly jogging, going to the gym, getting on the treadmill, taking up a CrossFit class, whatever it is. Add one thing and make it simple, make it something you can succeed at. But I bet if you eliminate one thing and add one thing, you can start making a lot of progress on your physical fitness. I've personally lately have subtracted eating crap food, junk food from my diet, fast food and everything, because I've typically, just as convenience, driving up and down the road, back and forth to the ranch or wherever, or with the kids, had fast food and just unneeded snacking. And so I've stopped that, and I started walking in the evenings with Michelle, my wife, so all with that, in the last near 5 weeks, I've lost 10 or 12 pounds. So just doing a couple things, no special diet, no special exercise program, but just adding one and subtracting one make a real difference in your physical fitness. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about is when we go away on these trips, maybe we're duck hunting for a weekend, maybe we're deer hunting for a week, maybe we're elk hunting for 10 days, maybe we've got a safari that we're gone on for a whole month. We leave our families and our friends and our responsibilities for this time. So I would urge you, before you leave on these trips, to clean up the details that you can. If you can pay your bills, you take care of your finances, that's going to leave you with a clean mind, and probably your spouse with a clean mind, knowing that things were taken care of. If you can take your wife and your kids out to dinner, if you can do some more things with them, if you can make some deposits in the love bank, that's going to go a long ways, because you're about to make some big withdrawals and being gone, and they're going to have to pick up the slack for you in whatever it is, whatever your responsibilities you did. Now she's got to do, or he's got to do, or whoever's at home, they've got to do all of it, and you're doing none of it. So try to fill up that love bank before you go, and I think you'll find that it pays really, really good dividends, and cleaning the slate as far as bills and housework and stuff like that. You're going to find that you leave with a much better peace of mind, and you're going to enjoy your trip a lot more. Your spouse is going to enjoy your trip a lot more, and it's just going to make for a much better experience. So that's it. So those are our more things in several different subjects, but hopefully some of those ideas will help you be successful, or help you return home with a better product, and return home safer, and enjoy your hunt while you're out in the field more, and your family will also reap the benefits of that also. So that about takes care of that subject. Ryer, do we got anything else for anybody on anything, or is that that take care of her?
As far as the one more thing, or just in general?
Just in general.
Well, just in general, for our hardcore fans who are listening to this the moment it comes out, which will be Wednesday, August 2nd. Those of you who are listening to our last podcast, we had Jeff Tucker on, one of our good friends from down in Texas. And his show that we're interviewing him about, Darkness, on the Discovery Channel, is premiering tonight as you're listening to this, if you're listening to this when it comes out. It's on the Discovery Channel at, let me look here, what was it, 10?
Yeah, I think it was 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, but then back to 10 o'clock Pacific or something like that. Mm-hmm. But look it up. If it's on too late, DVR it. But we're certainly going to be watching. So hope you guys can all check it out and give us some feedback what you think about that show. Well, again, one more time, how do they find our?
Well, you can find us all over the internet on our website, markgroupieoutdoors.com, as well as Instagram and Facebook at Mark Groupie Outdoors, and our YouTube channel, which is Mark Groupie Outdoors. And you can also find this specific podcast episode under the Mark Groupie Outdoors /podcast page, and it'll have some pictures of stuff we talked about, some links, and episode description and all that stuff. So if you like this episode and want to find out more about what we talk about, I would navigate there and give it a look.
In the past, we've given away some olive oil or some hats for people that are listening who listen to the keyword. And if you haven't won a prize before, we've had some people that have actually called to claim a couple of them because they've been good listeners. But if we've got any new listeners out there, we'll, in honor of the Detwiler fire, if you message us to our Facebook page.
Well, comment, not message.
Or comment, okay. Sorry, I don't know the lingo sometimes. If you comment on our Facebook page, Detwiler, we will send you your choice of a hat or a bottle of olive oil, custom olive oil. So comment Detwiler on our page, and we'll get our first one will get that to you. Thanks again for listening. We hope you all enjoyed it. Hopefully these were some helpful tips, and we will see you in a couple weeks on Mark Groupie Outdoors, the podcast.